All right, let's play a little game here. And for the people who are listening, I will describe what we're going to do here because I have a little graphic here for Brad. This game is
Ah,
called If You
yes.
Had to Choose. Now, I don't imagine that we're bringing back every single player on this year's team for next year. I think that would be pretty foolish because this team looked old and slow. And you're going to have to change up the roster a little bit. We have some new rules that we got to worry about. And I don't even know if you could bring back either guy, though I imagine they are talking to Joc Pederson and his agent, because whether you
Yeah.
like it or not, Joc Pederson is hitting 266. He's slugging
Mhm.
501, 843 OPS, and he has been a productive offensive player. So let's make that clear because he is absolutely not productive on defense.
Yeah, yeah.
And
He's a fantastic DH.
absolutely. And then you got Brandon Belt, who last year, we saw, oh man, the resurgence. He hit his most home runs in his young career in a season last year in his age 33 year. And then this year just could not shake injuries, having I think it's the worst year of his career. 2011 was a little rough, but that was, it was a rookie year where he was kind of up and down, and Bochy
Right.
was giving him beers and on the Showtime show. So, his worst year since his rookie year, and he's only on a 1-year deal, and they will have to negotiate with him as well. So, if the game was we're bringing back one of those players, who would that player be for you? And we're taking everything into account. We're
Mm.
taking offense, we're taking the new rules where the dead red left-handed pull hitter probably is going to benefit a little bit from the lack of being able to fully shift your infielders all the way across the field. And from a defensive perspective, because obviously Joc is, if you tell me that Joc's only going to DH, his value skyrockets on the team next year.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a really, really tough one. Because you hinted at asking me this question. So I did some research, but I still can't come up with a solid answer. So I'm gonna come up with one live right now.
On the
I didn't
fly.
pre-plan. Yeah, I did not pre-plan like an answer because I just couldn't come up with one. So I'm just gonna kind of hash it out here live. So Brandon Belt's 35 years old.
Yes.
Or he's going to be 35 years old next year. Joc Pederson's going to be 31 next year. So there's a plus for Joc Pederson. You get a little bit younger, maybe you sign him to a 3-year deal. You can't sign Brandon Belt probably to any more than a 1, maybe 2-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
And he would probably take a 1-year deal. What was his
18, I
salary
think
this
he
year?
made this
18.
year.
Yeah, so it was 18 on the what's that called? I'm trying to remember his deal.
Yeah.
They
The
qualifying offer.
qualifying offer.
Yeah, so he took the 18 million qualifying offer. As we know, Joc is on a $6.5 million deal. That's probably going to go up next year for sure, especially at 31 years old. And you can grab him for 3 years. If you're ballsy, you grab him for a 4-year deal. Let's look at Belt's OPS plus the last 3 years. He went from 2020, he went 177 OPS plus, down last year to 160, which is still fantastic because 100 is average.
Mm-hmm.
And then this year, 91. So not
Below average player.
Yeah, below average player, but not that far below average, but way far off from 2020 and 2021. Joc Pederson, 2020, 83 was his OPS plus. Remember the shortened season.
Right.
2021, 94. Now, everybody thought he just went nuts once he went to Atlanta. Well, he did in the playoffs and in the World Series. But before that, he went from the Chicago Cubs. I think he was somewhere else, too, in between, right? He was with the Cubs.
Joc was with just Dodgers, Cubs, and then Atlanta.
Okay, so Cubs in Atlanta in 2021. He didn't skyrocket in his OPS plus when he went to Atlanta until we got to the playoffs. So his OPS plus was 94, so just below our average. This year, 134, so way above average OPS plus. So he's going to make he's going to get a pretty decent raise. But again, we know he's really really rough against lefties. But we have talked about the fact that if you do hang on to Longoria, and you do hang on to Joc Pederson, you could have a really nice lefty righty DH combo. As you know, Gabe Kapler does not like to have one lineup. He does not like to have two lineups. He likes to have 67 lineups. So so is that going to be feasible? But as Buster Posey said, we'd like to see less roster churn. Going forward. How that plays with Zadie and Kapler, I don't know, but I would imagine they're on the same page. Who else? What are your other options at first base? The Giants don't have anybody in the minors that could come up and be that guy at first base. They don't have anybody necessarily a left fielder who could come up and be that guy in left field. They gave Luis Gonzalez a little bit of a shot. There's nobody in free agency next year that's going to be fantastic. There's nobody in free agency at first base that's going to be fantastic. So now you're looking at a trade. You've got to make a trade. Now you're going to lose minor leaguers. So that being said, I probably say you hold on to Brandon Belt for one more year until that first base market opens up, or you see what you have in the minors. Does Casey Schmidt, can he become a first baseman? Can you have VR at third base in a couple of years and Casey Schmidt at first base? Can that be a plausible thing that happens? I think you can get another outfielder somewhere else. Joc Pederson, again, his OPS plus the last couple of seasons, not fantastic, then ballooned this year, but we know he can't hit lefties. So he's kind of hamstrung there. Brandon Belt has a little bit of a tough time against lefties, but only certain lefties, and Kershaw's probably retiring. So we're going to be okay. So I would say if I had to choose between the two, slight margin goes to Brandon Belt on another 1-year deal.
I think that's right. I know people will groan at us here, at us saying that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's unfortunate because it has now become if Brandon Belt plays poorly and you still enjoy Brandon Belt, you're a bad person. But if Brandon Belt plays well and you enjoy him, we're just being easy on him. He's supposed to play well, but that's just that's just his relationship with this fan base. I agree with you, and the reason why I agree, because I may have had even a harder time than you with this one. The only way, if Joc Pederson can just be a DH against right-handed pitching, and you don't have to play him anywhere else,
right?
I think it's Pederson. But I don't think this roster's built for that.
No. It's absolutely not. No.
And there's going to be opportunities for him in the outfield, which I mean, it just kills your defense because he's just not good out there. And, I'm sure the positioning and all that has helped him, but still, he turns singles into doubles and doubles into triples more than anybody I've seen. As far as I can remember. Like, I can't remember there being that poor of a defensive outfielder for the Giants in quite some time. I couldn't even tell you who I thought, was worse than he is. And that's his role. His role is as a DH against right-handed pitching. And if he gets it, then I think he's productive. And if he doesn't, then you can't play him every day, because where he's going to be valuable is in the lineup. And he's always going to get pinch hit for as well. So that's just going to happen. But yeah, so that's where I would go with it. And if you're telling me that just not how the Giants do business, then I would rather have Brandon Belt back, because at the very least, if his knee is healthy, like he says it is, he's going to be above average, maybe even better than above average defensively at first. And he, these shift rules may actually help him more than most hitters next year too. So that's kind of an interesting thing.
You have to look at it that way too, and you have to say, would I rather have Brandon Belt at first base in this situation at this moment? Would I rather have Brandon Belt at first base, or would I rather have Lamont Wade Jr. at first base next season? Or would I rather have Joc Pederson in left field, playing some left field, maybe 60 games, or would I rather see Luis Gonzalez or or somebody else who can play left field and is maybe going to hit 15 home runs, bat 270, but plays a really really good left field. And that's who I'd rather see, and I'd rather see Belt at first base than some of the other options that are out there. I mean, it's like Jose Abreu from the White Sox is the next best option as a free agent next year.
Yeah,
As you know,
you're not wrong. So Major
right,
League Baseball,
yeah.
the website, I don't even know who the writer is. It just says MLB.com. So
Mhm.
it's probably a combination. But they had the top left fielders there. And this is not in alphabetical order either. Their top left fielders: Joey Gallo,
Oof.
Andrew Benintendi, Adam Duvall at age 33, AJ Pollock at age 35. So that's what you're looking at. And Joc oh man, they did Joc dirty with this one.
No.
They had him right underneath Tommy Pham.
Oh,
Oh, I see what they're ranking. They're ranking it by WAR. So that's how they're ranking it.
Okay, all right.
And then for first
That's
baseman, it's Abreu, Rizzo, Josh Bell, Brandon Belt. And so yeah, you're right. There's not a ton of guys who the Giants could just turn to. That where it's stacked is shortstop. Trey Turner, Xander Bogaerts if he opts out, Carlos Correa if he opts out, Dansby Swanson, Tim Anderson, Elvis Andrews, Jose Iglesias. So tons of guys up the middle. Juan Segura, though he's also a little bit old at 33. So yeah, they may make that decision, but I would also hope to not see both of them come back to this roster.
Yeah, if they both come back, I wouldn't call it a failed off season because we don't know what else is going to happen. I mean, we're talking, left field. You can have Aaron Judge, right, or put him in center or right field and move guys around. So I mean, the number one target is probably going to be Aaron Judge. The Giants are going to do more than kick the tires on that player. But man, if they do get him, you probably say goodbye to Joc Pederson for sure. At that point, you can plug Brandon Belt back in. A healthy need. Brandon Belt, the captain, can show Aaron Judge the ropes. But what do you do at shortstop? That's the tough one. We'll talk about that probably in another show. But that's a whole. I mean, we could do a whole show on that because we love Brandon Crawford so much to the point where
he looked 25 this weekend.
when you see him healthy and you see what he can still do as a healthy player, it's so hard to say after the season, I don't mind saying goodbye to him. I don't want to. I mean, you've got a piece there at shortstop who knows the organization, doesn't have to get adjusted to the philosophies, knows the manager. You can get him on well, actually he is signed next year too, right?
Crawford is signed. Yes.
Yeah, so it's this so it was a 2-year deal. I keep thinking he's a free agent after the season. So next year, a healthy Crawford. Yeah, I wouldn't call it a failed offseason if both Joc Pederson and Brandon Belt have to come back. But I would probably say something didn't go as planned.